This is James Wiseman. Now back to the morning roast with Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky.
Beyonce, man. Bangers.
Yeah. And then they had the dance that came along with the other song.
Crank that up, Spino. Crank that up, man. Let's go. It's Monday morning. Wake up, Bay Area. Damn it. Super Bowl week. Warriors have drama. Curry's out. Who's going to rally around them, damn it? No panicking on the roast. That's what happens when I listen to Beyonce.
That's right.
You won't break my soul.
Injuries won't break my soul.
No.
Steph being out won't break my soul. Kyrie to the Mavs won't break my soul.
All right, I don't know what that dance move is.
You look like you were hitting the Bernie. Remember the Bernie?
Yeah, the Bernie. Yeah, the weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. Bringing the Bernie back.
I don't know what that was.
Bernie Lean, Cocoa Crisp.
That's
Let's
right.
go. Beyonce gets me going, man. That's great morning music, by the way. Gets me going. Cuff It. Whew, that album was hard.
It was.
I still bumped that old song back in the day. The green light. I got that. All right, let me stop. Howard Beck joining us in just a second. Monster Monday, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to Twitch. Shout out to the Xfinity Mobile text line. Shasky out, Allen in. Shasky will be back tomorrow. He's doing well. We talked yesterday for a little bit, but we got style art. You know, he fits the roast because he's got diva tendencies. You fit us.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I'll wear that.
Selfish, man. Selfish. All right, we got Howard Beck joining us on the Bud Light guest line. All postseason guests appear on the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. And, of course, Howard Beck has been covering the NBA for a long, long time. Currently for Sports Illustrated, co-host of the Crossover Podcast with Chris Mannix, a really good podcast covering everything in the world of basketball. And, Howard, we'll just start off, before we get into the Golden State Warriors, what the Steph Curry injury means and whether or not they'll make a move before Thursday's NBA trade deadline. We did get a monster trade yesterday, Sunday morning. Kyrie Irving going over to the Dallas Mavericks. Dorian Finney-Smith and, of course, Spencer Dinwiddie going to Brooklyn, as well as picks. I guess the first question I'll ask you, Howard, when we found out that Kyrie wanted out of Brooklyn yet again on Friday, were you surprised by that, considering how well Brooklyn had been playing basketball?
No, I wasn't surprised, and I'm not going to pretend to know that Kyrie Irving was going to make a trade demand with a week to go before the trade deadline, but I will tell you that once things calmed down from his previous controversy back in November, if you had asked me, will there be something else this season, I would have said yes, absolutely. There's always something else. So that it was a trade demand was maybe not, the part of the dartboard I would have flagged back in a few months ago. I don't know what it would have been, but there was always something. With Kyrie, there always is. And him asking out is only surprising in the sense that this is presumably where he wanted to be. He talked, very, poetically about, the homecoming a few years ago and being a New Jersey kid and rooting for the Nets and wanting to play in Brooklyn and wanting to play with Kevin Durant. And he has said multiple times about how this is where he wanted to stay and to keep playing with his friend Kevin Durant. But then again, Kyrie Irving said he wanted to retire a Boston Celtic and have his jersey raised to the Raptors there, 4 or 5 years ago. So this is just Kyrie Irving. There's always something. You have to expect the unexpected. And the trade demand did not surprise me in that regard. I literally laughed when I saw it.
Howard, going to the Mavs and what they're trying to build, now I'm seeing reports that Christian Wood is on the trading table. Last time I checked, Christian Wood is a pretty good player. What is it that the Mavericks are trying to create? And do you think they're the best team in the West right now? And is this a long-term thing with Kyrie? Give us a look into what you think the Mavs' approach is right now.
No clue. The most obvious benefit of this deal is that Luka has too much on his plate. You got to bring that usage rate down. You've got to get him help. You need somebody else who can create at a high level, and Kyrie Irving can do that. Kyrie Irving, for all of his warts and unreliability, is an elite playmaker and shot creator and finisher, and the Mavericks needed somebody else who could do something with the ball in their hands so that Luka doesn't get burned out before the playoffs, so that the offense doesn't fall off a cliff every time Luka goes to the bench or gets hurt. So I see them working on that. Like, that makes sense. But they gave up Dorian Finney-Smith, arguably their best perimeter defender, one of the better 3-and-D guys in the NBA. Mm-hmm. They gave up Spencer Dinwiddie, who, look, it's an upgrade, at least skill set-wise, from Dinwiddie to Kyrie Irving. Christian Wood, who you mentioned. So now their three best players are Luka, Kyrie Irving, and Christian Wood, all of whom are very skilled offensive players who play defense occasionally if, the moon is in the right place. So they're bottom third of the league in defensive efficiency, the Mavericks. This trade is only going to erode that further. So if they're dangling Wood, part of it is contract issues because he's a pending free agent and they haven't been able to come to terms on an extension. Part of it's just that, like other teams who have had Christian Wood before, he's a really skilled, attractive player for what he can do at his size and as a scorer, but he's a frustrating player if you're trying to build a defense. And so, yeah, I think the Mavericks are still looking to make some moves because they want to be contenders. To your question about where are they in the West, I mean, they're still a second or third tier team in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I'm with you there. They were in the Western Conference Finals a season ago, but do I have them above Denver, the Clippers, the Memphis Grizzlies? Not yet, but they're going to cause problems offensively. No doubt about that. Howard Beck, Sports Illustrated, covers the NBA for Sports Illustrated, also the co-host of the Crossover podcast with Chris Maddox. All right, let's discuss the team that is out here in the Bay Area, the Golden State Warriors. 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Steph Curry leaves the floor Saturday night against the Dallas Mavericks, and he has partial tears or ligaments that I've never heard of, Howard, but he's going to be out a few weeks here. What does it look like for the Warriors over the course of the next 3 weeks? Do you believe this injury will force them to possibly make a deal at the deadline?
I think that the smart teams look at what they've got and make a determination about trades going into the trade deadline, irrespective of short-term injuries, right? Like if Steph were out for the season, then it's a different calculus. At that point, you're just saying, well, let's plan for next season because there's nothing to salvage here. But the Warriors are still trying to make the most of this season and to defend their title. And there have been obviously many moments where you thought, okay, I see last year's team reemerging, and then it disappears again and they backslide. I don't think they're going into this deadline with a thought of what do we do in the wake of Curry's injury so much as the same conversations they were probably having a week ago, which is how do we shore up this bench? How do we get how do we get the defense going again with this team? Can we get another perimeter defender? Can we, there's so many different ways they could go with this, but they still have to figure out what do they have to offer? Are they willing to part with any of their young guys? How much value do those young guys even really have at this particular moment in time is a really tough question to answer. But I have to believe that Bob Myers and his staff are being aggressive because this is still a season that could be really meaningful and lead to a deep playoff run once everyone's healthy. And if you get some help, because the starting five is sound. It's everything after that you got to worry about.
Howard, I got to ask, when we talk about trades and we talk about Kyrie, we know the next name that's going to come up. That's Kevin Durant. Obviously, he's been out. What do you think the Nets do? Obviously, they got back Spencer Dinwiddie and some guys to keep them in the hunt, but do they think about moving KD? And if they did, would the Warriors be in contention? We know the Phoenix Suns, per Chris Haynes, would be interested if the Nets are going to go in that direction. Is it worth bringing up, or do you think the Nets are going to hold on to Kevin Durant?
One, I've heard zero indication that they're looking to move Kevin Durant. Two, I think the composition of the trade that they just made with Kyrie Irving yesterday is a clear indication that the Nets want to keep Kevin Durant and keep building around him. Because if this were going to be a teardown, then you're trading Kyrie Irving for draft capital as much as you can possibly get and or young players. They didn't. They traded for veterans, Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. And that is an indication to me that you're trying to get guys who would play well with Kevin Durant and that you still want to make a run at a minimum this season with Durant and that you're expecting he's going to be back and healthy soon. So, no, if this were, if the Nets were doing the teardown, they would have made a different kind of trade.
Howard Beck here on the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Howard Beck shedding some light on the NBA world here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. the core group here. There's been a lot of drama out here in the Bay Area. I'm sure you've known about that. Howard, with the trading camp situation with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, to everything that's happened in season, the unknown with Bob Myers. When you look at the Warriors and watch the Warriors from afar, do you believe this is the last season that we'll see this core together with Steph, Clay, Draymond, Iguodala, and company?
Well, Iguodala is going to retire probably, right?
Right. So we think. We think, or it could be a coach again. I don't know.
Yeah, that's Andre will be a phenomenal coach. I might hire him to be my life coach. I kind of need that. The Bob Myers contract situation kind of hangs over things. Draymond and Clay's contract situations hang over things. I mean, this is what happens in the late stages of a dynasty. Everybody gets a little older. Roster gets a little creakier, everything gets really expensive, and you start asking questions about, well, when is the end? And if they hadn't won the championship last June, who knows? Maybe it would have already been the end. But I can't. I'm not going to make any predictions about when this thing comes to an end.
Right.
But it's on the horizon. Everybody has to kind of see that and recognize it. And it's hard. If you're a fan, it's hard for sentimental reasons. Even if you're an organization where it's like, oh, basketball is a business. Yeah, but these are human beings. Mm-hmm. And the Warriors, I think the humanity in that organization is stronger and more palpable than in some others around this league. And I think the sentimentality and the feeling that the organization has, that individuals have, from the front office through ownership down to the players, all of that is going to make it very, very hard to make the decisions that they really need to make. Listen, you guys are in the Bay Area. You're younger than me, but you probably remember when the 49ers, once upon a time, in the most heartbreaking moment of my life as a 49ers fan, as a Bay Area kid, traded Joe Montana.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention before that, having parted with Ronnie Lott and Roger Craig.
Yeah.
These are the moments that have stuck with me decades later, even though I'm not even a fan anymore. Those are tough, but that was, at the time, the Niners and Bill Walsh saying, we've got to do what's best for the organization. If that means trading the most legendary player in franchise history, we got to do it. Now, it's not going to happen with Steph, but when it comes to Clay, Draymond, Bob Myers, all of these, everything ends at some point. And I don't know if that's imminent or if that is still a couple years away, but obviously they're inching closer.
Yeah, trading Charles Haley to the Dallas Cowboys as well during that stretch. I mean, look, we were just in Philadelphia last week, so we had to live through that NFC title game. And, the Niners haven't had much success in terms of winning Super Bowl since that last one with Steve Young against the Chargers when they blew them out down in Miami. Howard Beck here for Sports Illustrated. Allen, go ahead. I know you got one more.
Yeah, Howard, I was just going to say, or I guess ask, who do you think the Warriors should be the most worried about in the West? I mean, obviously there's a big cluster right there in the middle, but the Nuggets have separated themselves. The Grizzlies are scuffling a bit, but they are in the 2 seed. Who do you think's, I guess, not necessarily coming out of the West, but who do you think is at the top of the West right now?
Yeah, I mean, but I was going to say, who should they worry about? The 7 other teams that are ahead of them.
Right.
Probably
Exactly.
Probably at least one team behind them, the Pelicans, who I think, once healthy, the Pelicans are really dangerous. I know that they've skidded recently, but I think the Pelicans are still a really good team when they're healthy.
What about Memphis? Not to cut you off, Howard. The Memphis Grizzlies. I've been hard on them here. I know what happened last year in the playoffs with Dillon Brooks and GP2. Warriors outlasted them in 6. But that team and the reports around them, what's going on with John Morant and Team Morant, personally, I think his dash should maybe stop traveling with the team or just stop showing up courtside for a minute, just take a lap, take a play off. But the Memphis Grizzlies, they just seem like the team, if I'm the Warriors, if I'm the Lakers, if I'm the Suns, and I'm down there in that 7th seed, I don't think I'd have a problem playing Memphis. I think they're a little fraudulent in terms of, and how they play. They get into foul trouble. They complain a lot. They don't have that veteran presence. What the heck is going on with the Grizzlies? Because I think they're frauds, Howard.
So, as somebody who spent my entire NBA writing career in LA and New York, I'll just say this: the Grizzlies are fortunate they're in Memphis and not in a major market, because we would be dissecting the heck out of them, and maybe we should be anyway. There's a lot of warning flags there, and what have they lost, like 8 of 10 or something? I mean, they've been in a really bad way lately. It's an immature team. So, you touched on a couple things there. I think the through line there is it's a young and immature team. It's a feisty team. So at their best, you say, oh, I love the tenacity of this team, and they're tough, and they've got a swagger, and they don't fear anybody. And so that's the best thing about them in some ways. And then on the bad days, it's the worst thing about them because it spills over. They don't know how to channel it sometimes. They go too far. And, when you talk about, who can win the West and why a team with a lot of talent maybe can't win the West, right? So the Nuggets are at the top of the West, and the first thing I think is the record's great, but they still don't play any defense consistently. And the track record of the NBA Finals is that you got to be a pretty good defensive team to make it and to win a championship. So I still kind of wonder about the Nuggets. Then you go down to the Grizzlies. Well, obvious glaring thing there. They're great defensively. They're, a little offensively limited at times, but Ja is incredible, and they got shooting. And then you think, so what's their Achilles heel? Well, it's the maturity. Then you get to the Kings, lack of experience in the playoffs for, 16 years. You get to the Clippers. Are Paul George and Kawhi Leonard going to be healthy? But, man, all of a sudden they're fourth. We were writing them off a month ago.
Right.
So, this is the thing. Like in the West this year, there really is no clear favorite. And everybody's got asterisks on coming after their name. And so when you ask, who do the Warriors have to fear? If the Warriors can just finally, get their identity back together, be the team that they were last June, yeah, there are teams that could beat them based on whatever, toughness, talent, size, something. But I'd put the Warriors up against anybody and have some confidence in them if they consistently recapture what they had, and if they can fortify the bench a little bit, because nobody in the West has an airtight case.
Yeah. Howard Beck, Sports Illustrated, has been doing that for a long, long time. Did not know that you're a former Niner fan, man. That's pretty cool. I'm glad you're not going through the misery like we are right now, trying to figure out who's going to be the quarterback, who's going to be back. Philadelphia, boy, that was a rough one. I don't want to revisit that. Howard, good stuff as always, man. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thank you.
Anytime. Howard Beck, man. A lot of stuff there. And if you're a Warrior fan, after what Howard Beck just said from Sports Illustrated, by the way, Howard Beck again, joining us on the Bud Light guest line. All guests on the Bud Light guest line join us. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.